So I guess we should start by, where did this all begin?
I was sat at my computer browsing and realised I had all my holiday to use, so I just randomly started entering events, and then I found Hill Runner. 6,000 feet of climbing, 26.2 miles of tough rocky terrain, 8 laps up and down the Pike, 2,416 steps, and I'd have to do this 5 days in a row. Day 1 was supposed to be nice and simple. Arrive, run, don't go too fast, but from the start things didn't go well. I travelled halfway the night before, so I should have been able to arrive in ample time. However, as these things do, traffic, roadworks, you name it, I was late. I made the team briefing, I made the team photo. I then went to my car to properly change, and as I looked up, the race had started, so I quickly put my shoes on, grabbed my GoPro, slammed that door shut and ran. I made good time, I was pushing quite hard, but nothing too crazy. It was all going very well. I got up to about lap 5 and 6 and I felt good. But on lap 6 something happened that I couldn't really understand. There wasn't any sharp pain, there wasn't any twist, fall, you name it, but my leg stopped working, my right leg in particular. I found I couldn't really lift it anymore. It could take weight, but there really wasn't actually that much you could do with it. So I ended up hobbling around. And in the end, you know, it went from a kind of a run walk to a jog to a walk, and then it was a slow stumble. So it's the end of day 1. I've actually already done the marathon. Got lost a few times with someone else, and I'm hobbling like an old man. My groin's, something's wrong with it, and I literally cannot lift my right leg. And because now my right leg's pretty much just taking an impact and not really bending, it started to aggravate my knee injury. So I've got a glorious sunset, which is pretty awesome. I've had to walk the last 2 laps, so far it's 6 hours 40 I've been moving, but prior to the last 2 laps I was on for something like half 5, sub 5:30 finish. So I'm going to go and see the physio when I finally get to the finish and basically get the report of what's really going to happen. I mean, this could be game over before we've even got to day 2. So hopefully it's just a case of it's something minor and we can do some treatment, nurse it throughout the night and see what it's like in the morning, or it could just be a big finish, so we'll see. Things started off a bit better. I'd had my physio the night before, and they feel I'd had a massive cramp in my groin which had fired off my right leg and basically rendered it useless. So after some painful physiotherapy, 2 kilos of ice and a lot of tender love and care that evening at home, I was on the start line. But hey, 1 lap, let's see how it goes. Well, I didn't even make it 200 metres before I had to walk. The pain was too much. So I settled myself in for effectively a long day. Towards the end of lap 1 I picked up Chris, a fellow competitor who was having a bit of trouble and having to walk, and we teamed up for the day, and we spent the next 7 laps of the team walking through, helping one another, and to be fair, making it a lot easier. Having to do 8 laps on my own would have been pretty much unbearable. You know, I'm okay with my own company, but effectively 8 to 9 hours of walking in a circle on your own whilst everyone flies past you could be potentially soul destroying. My pain didn't get really much worse, but as you'll see, my injury started to subside. As the evening and the darkness set on, I started to feel good. So we did it in the dark? it was at that point I left Chris at the final checkpoint and went alone. So it's the end of day 2. I've walked the whole day actually, pretty much, because of yesterday's injuries, but on the whole things are looking a lot better. It's been brutal, as you might have seen with the wind, and now it's calm. It's the first time I've worn the t-shirt all day, and we're not far from the end, so I'll see you there. We got there in the end. Day 3 saw me guide Louise. Now Louise is incredible. She's taken part in almost 100 park runs. She's been in the 2012 Paralympics, and you know, whatever the conditions, she goes, she runs. My job was very simple. I'm literally the guide. I just got to make sure I find the best route round course and hopefully prevent, you know, Louise from walking into something or tripping over, and also just being the eyes and ears. I'd previously done Lap Louise at a 24-hour event earlier this year, so it was great to actually be with a friend and to be able to, you know, to catch up effectively. But the weather wasn't in our favour, and it pretty much pissed it down for the first 3 hours. The wind wasn't too bad, but it's not summer, so it was a pretty cold 2 laps. Thankfully, at the end of lap 2, the rain subsided, the sun started to come out, and as I left Louise at the checkpoint to start my 6 laps of running, the temperature got better and things were great. As I started my running, I felt strong, I felt rejuvenated, I had a lot of energy. Now the day before I hadn't used too much energy, and I'd made sure I'd taken plenty on with today in mind, so I felt fresh, and so it meant I could just go out and run. Now the guiding had taken about 3 hours or so, so that meant I had effectively kind of 6 hours to do the 6 laps within the cutoff, which isn't that hard, you know, you can walk that. But I'm not the best with maths, and my head went, shit, I've just got to run. So I ran, and I, you know, put the hammer down and ran my heart out, to be honest. But it felt great. It was, you know, the day before I'd had to walk it. The day before that, I'd had to stumble over the finish line. So, you know, it was a great boost to my morale. Thanks today. See you at the finish line. Well done, mate. So it's the end of day 3. I feel good, better. I've taken Louise down for around 2 laps. That was really cool to see her again, because I haven't seen her since Spitfire Scramble, which was in August. And I've just put in 6 laps running. Considering I could only run this last section yesterday, it's awesome. I've probably gone a bit too fast, because I've done it in about 4 hours 10, but it feels good. It was awesome to kind of attack the descents, which I'd never really managed to do on either day. So on to the finish.
Five is going out of 32 starters, so that's absolutely brilliant. You know, pretty inspirational stuff.
This was it, day 4. I figured realistically, if I'm going to get a good time, today was going to be it. So I went out and hit the course, and I hit the course hard. And it'd been the first time this adventure that I'd actually been with kind of the main pack. So I'd always left them at the start line and they'd gone off and never seen them again. And it felt great. My aim was to keep with little Steve. He was consistent beyond consistent. Keep with him and see what happened. And this was all very well up until about lap, I think it was 5 or 6. Funny that. And my GoPro stopped working. Now, because I'm recording the whole thing, I wanted to make sure that I had the footage. So I stopped for 5 minutes and tried everything I knew to get this thing working again, but it just wouldn't work. So carried on, and when I got to the checkpoint, I just dumped it, and from then on it was a case of, right, I can run now. But something hadn't been alright all day, and my energy levels seemed to be going up and down like a yo-yo. So I found myself slowing down and kind of walking a little bit, and that's when Big Steve caught me. And from then on, my simple plan was, right, I'm going to stick with Steve, I'm going to hold on to him. If I can stick with him, I'm going to get a reasonable time. And up until the final lap, I kind of felt like I was flagging a bit. But then on the top of the Pike, something amazing happened. And Steve just told me to go ahead, get moving, he'll catch up, because, you know, he was a lot quicker on the descents. So I went ahead and I gave it a go. And my legs fully opened up and I flew. And it got to the point that I actually had to slow myself down because I thought I was going to blow up before. And for the remainder 2 miles, I ran as hard as I could. And so as I kind of made my way down and hit the road, waved goodbye to the checkpoint team, and I just kind of held on for dear life. I just went. And so I crossed the line at 5:54 and I was elated. It was finally here. It was the final day and I felt pretty good. It was the last time I'd have to attack the Pike, the last time I'd have to do 8 laps. But also quite a strange feeling knowing that this was the end. And yet by now, this was normal, this was the norm. And in many ways it felt like I should be back tomorrow to do this all over again. And this was good up until midway through lap 2 on the descent from the Pike. And once again the GoPro went wrong. But this time, I spent no time on it. I carried on running. As I hit the technical section, I could feel something in my left leg wasn't right. It hadn't felt right all day, but it hadn't been anything to worry about up until this point. It was also at this time that I met Jason. I'd caught up with him. He was having a bad day for other reasons, and we decided to have a little walk together and see how things went. And that would be the last time I ran, as my left quad literally stopped working. But there was one other thing. Jason was expecting to become a father. So every time his phone went off, I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. I stopped worrying about myself, and all I could think was, how the hell are we going to get him out of here? On lap 7, we met Toby, and he was quite happy because he thought he was the last guy out, and of course then he found us. But it was at that point that we decided we're all going to finish together, and you know, we made our own little team. And as we came within about 500 metres of the finish, well, everyone started to run. Now this wasn't something I could really do. I'd been hobbling all day, and for me to run, I had this strange kind of humpback notched arm lurch, and I literally had to kind of throw my leg through the air to do anything. And I carried this on over the finish line, where then it kind of took its toll and my body kind of went, you idiot. But we were straight into the prize giving, and yeah, my legs were cramping up badly during that.
She only wants to count her steps. 18 strides and she stops to abide by the law that she herself has set. That 18 steps is one complete set.